Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Murmi Bhattacharya. Coming up in the next hour. On the birth anniversary of Lord Mahavir, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi says the solution to global crises and conflicts lies in India's ancient culture and tradition. Russia raises red flag after US House of Representatives passes security support bill for Ukraine, Israel and Taiwan. 23 Chinese swimmers were allowed to compete in the Tokyo Olympics despite testing positive for a banned drug. Indian pair of Akshdeep Singh and Priyanka Goswami earned 2024 Paris Olympics quota. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi attended Lord Mahavir's birth anniversary celebrations in New Delhi on Sunday. There he stressed on India's commitment to global well-being. Akshay Dongre reports from New Delhi.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Sunday inaugurated the 2550th Bhagwan Mahavir Nirvan Mahotsav at the Bharat Mandapam in the national capital on the occasion of Mahavir Jayanti. He also released a commemorative stamp and coin at the event. Addressing thousands of people who had come to Bharat Mandapam for the festival, PM Modi said,
हम 2500 वर्ष बाद भी आज भगवान महावीर का निर्वाण दिवस मना रहे हैं। सदियों और सहस्त्राब्दियों में सोचने का ये सामर्थ्य, ये दूरदर्शी और दूरगामी सोच, इसलिए ही भारत न केवल विश्व की सबसे प्राचीन जीवित सभ्यता है, बल्कि मानवता का सुरक्षित ठिकाना भी है.
Referring to the ongoing wars across the world, PM Modi said,
आज संघर्षों में फंसी दुनिया भारत से शांति की अपेक्षा कर रही है. नए भारत के इस नई भूमिका का श्रेय हमारे बढ़ते सामर्थ्य और विदेश नीति को दिया जा रहा है. लेकिन मैं आपको बताना चाहता हूं, इसमें हमारी सांस्कृतिक छवि का बहुत बड़ा योगदान है.
Mahavir Jayanti marks the birth anniversary of the founder of Jainism. The Jain community celebrates the festival to observe peace and harmony and spread the teachings of Mahavir, the 24th Tirthankar of Jainism. Mahavir Jayanti is celebrated by taking a procession with Mahavir's idol on a chariot and people reciting religious songs on the way. Jains also celebrate this day by doing charity, praying, observing fasts, visiting Jain temples, conducting mass prayers and meditating. Akshay Dongre's report for DD India.
And now let's get you the latest on the world's largest democratic election taking place in India. The campaign has reached its crescendo for the second phase of polls in India's parliamentary elections, and the leaders of various political parties are crisscrossing states to campaign for the third phase as well. Prime Minister Narendra Modi was in Rajasthan, while opposition bloc held a joint rally at Ranchi in the Indian state of Jharkhand. Here's more.
As the date approaches near for second and third phase elections, poll campaigns by leaders of various political parties hit the top gear. Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed back-to-back two rallies in Jalore and Banswara in Indian state of Rajasthan.
जिस पार्टी ने कभी 400 सांसद जीते थे उनके, आज वो 300 सीट पे चुनाव नहीं लड़ पा रहे हैं। आज कांग्रेस की हालत ये है, उनको उम्मीदवार नहीं मिल रहे हैं। इन्होंने अवसरवादी इंडी अलायंस बना लिया है, उसकी पतंग उड़ने से पहले ही कट गई है।
BJP's National President JP Nadda addressed a public rally in the western Indian state of Maharashtra's Buldhana. While senior BJP leader and Home Minister Amit Shah was in Katihar, Bihar, he highlighted BJP government's achievements to transform the lives of poor.
मोदी जी ने इस देश में से परिवारवाद को नाबूद किया है। मोदी जी ने जातिवाद और तुष्टीकरण को भी समाप्त करने का काम नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने किया है और मोदी जी ने हर एक व्यक्ति का विकास करने का काम नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने किया।
Later, Amit Shah proceeded to Assam where he held a roadshow in Silchar. On the other hand, leaders of opposition alliance also crisscrossed the country to garner support in favor of their candidates. Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge was in Satna, Madhya Pradesh.
मैं आपको विश्वास दिलाता हूं कि ये 102 सीटों पर जो वोटिंग हो गई है, इसमें इंडिया अलायंस को भारी बहुमत मिलेगा।
Congress General Secretary Priyanka Gandhi Vadra addressed an election meeting in favor of Congress candidate Bhupesh Baghel in Rajnandangaon, Chhattisgarh. The opposition bloc alliance leaders held a joint rally titled Ulgulan Rally at Ranchi in Indian state of Jharkhand. The rally was attended by leaders of India Alliance grouping.
हेमंत सोरेन जी को जेल में डाला गया, संजय सिंह जी जेल रह करके आ रहे और केजरीवाल जी को जेल डाला गया। इससे पहले मेरे पिता को जेल भेजा गया। हम पे कई केस मुकदमे हुए, लेकिन हमारा गठबंधन का कोई नेता इस बीजेपी के गिदड़ भपकी से डरने वाला नहीं है।
Down south, Congress senior leader P. Chidambaram held a press conference in Kerala. While Communist Party of India Marxist leader Sitaram Yechuri also addressed a public rally in Kerala's Trivandrum. The second of the 7-phase elections will take place on April 26, while third phase of polling is scheduled on May 7. Fuzail Ahmed's report for DD India.
Our correspondent Yogesh Sheetal joins us from Buldhana in Maharashtra. Yogesh, Buldhana is among the 8 Lok Sabha seats in Maharashtra going to polls in the second phase. How is the campaign there panning out, and also in the other seats of Maharashtra going to polls in the second phase?
Hi Munmun, see, as far as Buldhana is concerned, this is one of the key constituencies in Marathwada that will decide the fate of entire Shiv Sena, which has recently been, brought down and split it into 2 parts, that is Shiv Sena, Uddhav Bala Sahab Thackeray and Shiv Sena. Now, why this constituency is going to be a significant in this at this point in time? See, this is the 3-time MP Pratap Raj Yadav who has rebelled, who is now joined Eknath Shinde camp and who is contesting the election from this constituency. And today also JP Nadda, who is the national president of BJP, was addressing a rally, and he covered a lot of things that was basically between the Shiv Sena, old Shiv Sena, that is Shiv Sena, actual Eknath Shinde faction, and BJP. So he basically drawn a complete line how BJP and Shiv Sena working together for a long time, and how the Shiv Sena later just parted the ways. Now see, you can say the echo of the result, basically the result of Buldhana constituency will not only be heard in Buldhana but also in Marathwada and the entire Maharashtra, because this constituency basically will give a clear picture what is the actual position of both part of Shiv Sena UBT and Shiv Sena. Now coming to other regions like other constituencies, there are 8 constituencies, 3 constituencies in Marathwada and 5 constituencies in Vidarbha region. There are 8 constituencies. We have rightly said 8 constituencies are going to cast their vote on 26th. Now coming to entire Vidarbha, in entire Marathwada region, a lot of development projects have been completed. Medical college also, AIMS also in Nagpur, we know, and a lot of road infrastructure, railway infrastructure projects that have been completed here in this region. Water related issues, because this is basically agrarian issues. There are agrarian issues which are basically dominates the entire region. So a lot of things through various schemes, through various projects, through various initiatives by the central as well as the state governments since the party breakup. So the BJP and you can see the entire ruling alliances are just pushing those issues to the people. At the same time, coming to opposition, coming to India Alliance, they are just making their 2 important issues. The first is how the party was broke up and how the agencies were allegedly misused, and at the same time other things, employment and other things, they are also raising these issues. So this constituency and this region will definitely decide the fate of all the parties basically in Maharashtra at this point in time. Yeah,
we'll leave it at that. Yogesh Sheetal reporting from Buldhana, going to polls in the second phase on the 26th of April. Moving on to elections in neighbouring Maldives now. The counting of votes in the archipelago for the parliamentary elections is underway, with the ruling PNC leading as per the latest trends. 81% voter turnout was reported. The polling saw an increase in the voter turnout as compared to the 2019 elections, where the voter turnout was 76%. The elections to the People's Majlis will send representatives from 93 constituencies. DD India's Dr. Farooqi is joining us. Dr. Farooqi, by when can we expect to know the outcome of the election?
Hi, Munmun. Yes, there is a possibility that we'll get to have clarity with regard to the results later in the night or early morning. As of now, about 50%, just short of 50%, the polling stations have been counted already. And we are expecting that the rest will be completed by the early morning. As of now, as per the latest figures that we have received, the ruling party, the PNC, Progressive National Congress of Dr. Mohammad Moizu, it is showing leads as per the early trends, and it appears as if it's going to secure a comfortable majority, but it's too early to say as of now. So we are hoping that the rest of the boxes would be opened quickly, and we'll get to find out what exactly is the result thereafter.
Okay, so you're telling us that the early trends are out, but the election is still early to call. So then is this election being watched by many observers to see if there will be an effective legislative oversight of the executive power in Maldives, especially if the opposition gains ground?
Munmo, actually, you see, it's as per the initial trends, also the divide is quite wide. It appears that the PNC has a lead in about 50 seats as compared to the Maldivian Democratic Party, which has leads in about only 15 seats. So there's a huge gap. But nevertheless, it is still too early to predict with regard to where the numbers would stand if the PNC would actually cross the majority mark in the final figures. At the same time, yes, with regard to the oversight, you see, Maldives is a small democracy, and there have been observers and monitors who have been placed from various parts of the world, including India as well. They are overseeing the entire process of the election as well as the counting. However, yes, the parliament, the Majlis is something which is very crucial with regard to the legislative oversight over the government's functioning. And that is something very crucial with regard to the kind of the structure of Maldives under the Maldivian constitution. All of the bills, all of the the budgets, everything has to be passed by a majority by the People's Majlis. And for any president, for any government, it is very crucial to have a majority mark in the Majlis for a smooth functioning. So that's how it stands as of now, Mun.
Absolutely. The picture will be clear in some more time. Thank you, Dr. Farooqi, for that.
Sure.
Time for us to take a breather. Still to come on DD India News Hour. An analysis on how Chinese athletes have come under a doping cloud. US House of Representatives votes to ban TikTok if it doesn't cut ties to China. And humanitarian aid airdropped over the besieged Gaza Strip.
As the action shifts to the second phase of general elections, Team Poll Pulse has arrived in the coastal state of Kerala. Thiruvananthapuram is witnessing a blockbuster contest.
കോവളം ഏരിയയിൽ ഞങ്ങളെ പോലെ പാവങ്ങൾ ഒരുപാട് പേരുണ്ട് അതുകൊണ്ട് ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് കച്ചവടത്തിനായി ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് എന്തെങ്കിലും ഗവൺമെന്റ് ആരും
side of technology, innovation, startups. That is the main specific thing that we are looking ahead.
Join us as we track the pulse of Indian democracy. Watch Poll Pulse on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour with me, Munmun Bhattacharya. Now, an update on the Israel-Hamas conflict. Humanitarian aid continued to be dropped by airplanes from the UK, Egypt and Germany over the besieged Gaza Strip on Sunday. The devastated Palestinian enclave faces famine and widespread disease 6 months after the enclave bore the brunt of destruction as hideouts of Hamas continued to be pounded by Israel as a response to the October 7 Hamas terror attack. The drone footage showed scenes of destroyed homes and streets in the Palestinian city of Tulkarm. Meanwhile, 2 Palestinian attackers tried to shoot and stab Israeli soldiers in the occupied West Bank. In response, the Israeli soldiers responded with live fire and neutralized both attackers. Sarah Coates is now joining us from Tel Aviv. Sarah, how has Israel reacted to the passage of the bill providing security aid for it by the US House of Representatives?
Hello there, Munmun. We've heard from the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He posted on X that this is much appreciated and it demonstrates strong bipartisan support for Israel and the Western civilization. Also, the Israeli President Isaac Herzog, he says that when the US is strong, Israel is stronger. When Israel is strong, the US is more secure. Now, we've also got reaction from Israel's Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. He has thanked America for its, quote, unwavering support as Israel faces threats on several fronts, including from Iran. Now, we've also just had a video message released by the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu just ahead of the Jewish holiday of Passover, which will begin tomorrow. He has said that the IDF will now begin to land painful blows, additional blows to Hamas over Passover to put pressure on the group to bring back these hostages. Now, what we do need to remember is that there are some 130 Israeli hostages that do remain in the Gaza Strip, and there are really growing demonstrations right across the country. People are absolutely furious that the Prime Minister and the Israeli establishment has not done enough to bring these people home. They're calling on Netanyahu to step down and calling for a deal to be done now. Munmun.
Sarah, what's the latest that you are picking up on the West Bank raids?
Well, a general strike is now underway. Also, major demonstrations in Ramallah after a 50-hour operation in the Nur al-Shams refugee camp. Now, according to Palestinian media, 14 Palestinians have been killed. One of those is a child. A number of other people severely wounded with major infrastructure there damaged. Now, the IDF has come out to comment on this operation. It's calling it a counter-terror op, saying that they killed 10 gunmen and also arrested 8 wanted people. Now, you did mention a shooting attack just before. A manhunt is now underway in the northern part of the West Bank, also around a kibbutz, which is fairly adjacent to this area where it happened. We do understand that an assailant opened fire from inside the West Bank over the Green Line into this Israeli kibbutz. No injuries, but there are traffic stops and roadblocks underway now as police and the IDF hunt for this attacker.
We'll leave it at that. Sarah Coates reporting from Tel Aviv. In a big revelation, the World Anti-Doping Agency, in short WADA, has confirmed reports that 23 Chinese swimmers tested positive for a banned drug before the Tokyo Olympics. But ironically, no action was taken. After the report was made public, WADA came up with a bizarre explanation that it accepted China's findings that this was due to substance contamination. The games were delayed and began in July 2021 due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and China's 30-member swimming team even went on to win 6 medals, including 3 gold medals. More details in this story.
The World Anti-Doping Agency WADA has confirmed reports that 23 Chinese swimmers tested positive for a banned drug before the Tokyo Olympics. WADA said it accepted the China's findings that this was due to substance contamination. The swimmers tested positive for banned substance trimetazidine months before the Games, which began in the Japanese capital in July 2021 due to COVID pandemic. China's anti-doping agency, CHINADA, called the reports misleading. The agency claimed that the positive results had been inadvertent. It said the swimmers had tested positive for extremely low concentration. China also claimed that they were inadvertently exposed to the substance through contamination. China's 30-member swimming team won 6 medals at the Tokyo Games, including 3 golds. Prior to this incident, China's Olympic gold medalist Sun Yang, who was suspended for 3 months in 2014 after testing positive. Prior to the 2008 Beijing Games, several Chinese swimmers have been involved in doping cases. In 1994, 7 Chinese swimmers tested positive ahead of Hiroshima Asian Games. In 1998, 4 Chinese swimmers failed pre-competition testing. The incident will lead to tighter scrutiny of China before this year's Paris Olympics. Sports Desk, DD India.
And for perspective, we are being joined by Rakesh Rao, sports journalist. Mr. Rao, such a pleasure to have you on DD India. This smells of a cover-up and nothing less than that. How could anti-doping regulators choose not to intervene?
I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. The way I look at it, this is like this is an unfair world out there. We all know that. But the point is that here, when you know it, when you know exactly what has happened, and this explanation of that they took it inadvertently and they took it in small doses, the anti-doping regulations are very clear. They say that the onus is entirely on the athlete. Pleading ignorance is absolutely no excuse. And it is coming from an agency. I mean, that makes it even worse. Because any national sports, any national anti-doping agency, they need to first inform WADA, which according to these reports, they did inform. But I'm really surprised that the fact that WADA took whatever CHINADA had to say. I mean, that is surprising for me. Because they say that we didn't have enough to prove. Did they initiate inquiry? Because I also understand that when you are initiating an inquiry into any doping allegation, the procedure is so important. Even if you have conclusive evidence that yes, this athlete has taken dope, but if the procedure followed during the inquiry or the investigation, if that is not followed, or when you take the sample, when you take the urine sample, and if the procedure is not correct, the athlete is allowed to go scot-free. So I completely understand what these agencies are all about. Yes, they are all for rules and regulations, which are all fine. But here the explanation is shocking.
True.
Because they themselves are violating or they're going against what they stand for.
Mr. Rao, you said that the onus is on the athletes to come clean, but many of the Chinese athletes who tested positive are now expected to compete for medals again at this year's Summer Games in Paris and later maybe next year in the Winter Games in China. So should they be allowed to contest or should they be suspended and publicly identified instead?
See, you can't really identify the athlete because the identity of the athlete is sacred. That is considered, something that will go against law. I mean, if you expose them now without giving them a right to appeal, that means that that person can take you to court. So, number one, the privacy of each athlete has to be respected as per the rules. But here, I completely understand what you are trying to know. That is it not fair to hold them back and make them accountable or make them pay for it? Now the point here is, if your national anti-doping agency itself is siding with you, and the WADA also accepts the version given by the Chinese national anti-doping agency, now this is where the biggest, this is what I call a scandal. Because WADA had to take cognizance of it, and they said that yes, from June 21, once we were told, we did carry inquiry and blah blah stuff. But the point is, you did allow them to take part. They went on to win 6 medals, including 3 gold medals. Now, aren't you being fair? Are you being fair? The question that one has to ask is, the nearest competitors were from USA and Australia in particular. Now just ask these athletes, that is it fair to allow these guys to take part? Absolutely. Obviously, you know their answer. But the point here is, what are the agencies going to do? Because they have, of course, this news has come out after, close to 3 years.
Yes, now, it's been 3 years, Mr. Rao, and had it not been for the media, we wouldn't have been talking about this today. You're telling us that WADA did say that an inquiry was conducted, but nothing is known in the public domain. So,
precisely. And
where does the buck stop really then?
That is precisely what makes this such a scandal. Because the people who are supposed to safeguard your interests are the ones guilty of not doing their job. So, it is more than the athlete. I don't blame the athletes here, the concerned athletes. My main grouse is against the authorities. How could WADA just take the explanation given by Chinada? My major thing comes from there. Of course, if they say that whatever we have got is not conclusive, at least come out with it. It shouldn't have taken them 34 months, and it was only after New York Times, actually pursued it. Then after a lot of international news agencies in the last 24 hours have tried to reach out. But the point is, why keep it under wraps?
Oh, absolutely.
WADA or any agency, anything to do with doping, that takes pride in saying that we are transparent. Except the identity of the athlete, everything else has to be transparent. Here, I think they've got their act grossly wrong.
Doesn't this expose shortcomings in the whole system?
Yes, you know what? Doping is one area which is full of loopholes. The guilty will always be 2 steps ahead of like WADA, 2 or maybe more. Because whatever the agencies are trying to do to ascertain whether a guy is doped or not, there is a parallel industry, the parallel, all these leading pharmaceutical agencies, they work on, creating a mask. That means the athlete is supposed to take the, whatever is a banned substance, whatever it may be, they will prepare a mask for it. That means if you consume a mask or whatever, the traces of it will not be visible in your urine sample. That is a bigger industry which works on it, because that is how it thrives. Now the point here is, are you not capable of cracking this? This has been happening for years. GDR, earlier we used to say what we used to call as the East Germany. They were known for this. Some of the records still stand, and people say that those records cannot be broken by clean athletes anymore. So a lot of those records have been removed. But the fact is, even after what we are talking about, close to 40 years after those records were set, you are not able to come anywhere close to those records. Now, the point here is that if we are serious about eradicating this, let's get our act together. Let's be sincere in our efforts.
True. This totally defies comprehension,
Completely.
Mr. Rao. And there's one set of rules when it comes to a Russian athlete, another set of rules when it comes to the Chinese
exactly.
athletes.
You have that example before you.
So,
Yeah,
yes.
right.
So, we leave it at that, Mr. Rao. Pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. Thank you.
Time for us to take another breather. Still to come on DD India News Hour. On the birth anniversary of Lord Mahavir, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi says India's policies are inspired by his teachings. Parts of India are reeling under a severe heat wave.
As the cycle of accountability returns, the time has come when the biggest democracy chooses to write another chapter in its glorious history. Development, justice, regionalism, a big political canvas. Everything will be put to test in this mega battle for glory. DD India dissects what makes elections 2024 the battle royale in Indian politics. Data and analysis free from bias to help you understand why India matters. The Great Indian Election on weekdays at 8:30 p.m. only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour with me, Munmun Bhattacharya. A recap of our top stories. On the birth anniversary of Lord Mahavir, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi says the solution to global crises and conflicts lies in India's ancient culture and tradition. Russia raises a red flag after US House of Representatives passes a security support bill for Ukraine, Israel and Taiwan. "23 Chinese swimmers were allowed to compete in Tokyo Olympics despite testing positive for a banned drug." On the occasion of the birth anniversary of Lord Mahavir, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi speaks on how India's policies are guided by his teachings, says the solution to global crises and conflicts lies in India's ancient culture and tradition. And joining us now for perspective on this is Dr. Hiraman Tiwari. He is a professor of Indian culture and history with the Jawaharlal Nehru University in New Delhi. Dr. Tiwari, a pleasure to have you. We heard Prime Minister Narendra Modi say on Mahavir Jayanti that solution to global crises and conflicts lies in India's ancient culture and tradition, and how India is making its place as a friend of a world that stands divided today. So is that ethos of peace building and conflict resolution visible in the peace moves that India has been backing? Prime Minister's statement that this is not the era of war, India's leadership of the G20, and in how India helps countries in crisis.
Thank you, Munmunji, for having me on your show. Thank you very much. Yes, absolutely, as you said, that, and as the Prime Minister mentioned on this occasion, that India has always been the votary, the message that always went out from India for those who visited India, not from today, but for thousands of years now, was of peace and universal harmony, non-violence or absence of violence through dialogue, and bringing about a community of happy and peaceful people where there is no conflict. It sounds a very utopian idea, you could say, but this is how from the ancient times, whether it was the Upanishads or Lord Mahavira's, whose anniversary we are celebrating today, and on the occasion of this anniversary, Prime Minister Modi invoked ancient India's wisdom of peace and harmony, and this peace and of course universal friendship. You remember that Jainism is one of the major religions of this country, which spread peace, non-violence, not troubling others, trying to make peace among warring factions. There are hundreds and hundreds of stories coming out from Jain literature, which is in Prakrit mostly, later on in Sanskrit also. And it was the influence of Lord Mahavira that Lord Buddha preached and taught peace, non-violence and harmony to the entire world. So it is not a surprise. It's not a very new thing for India. India has traditionally been known to send out a message where the entire universe can be one world. And as you remember, the logo, the motto, the dialogue that Prime Minister Modi initiated during G20 summit was the entire world is a family. And that, of course, is extremely important. It is coming out from the ancient Indian wisdom, of which Jainism, of course, is one of the most important pillars.
Yes, Dr. Tiwari, in the context of the Russia-Ukraine war, we've heard Dr. Jaishankar say that India is on the side of peace. The Swiss, we know, will be hosting a high-level global peace conference in June. Do you see India further taking teachings of Lord Mahavir forward and brokering peace between Russia and Ukraine, either overtly or behind the scenes or both?
Without doubt, Munmiji, whether it is Russia-Ukraine or the trouble in the Middle East, whether it is between Israel and Gaza or Israel and Iran or anywhere else, when there is this kind of strife and conflict and violence or even a possibility of violence, the world has now begun to look to India, because today we have a leader who takes pride in spreading ancient Indian wisdom, because we have them, we have it. And if it comes to help in resolving many disputes around the world, and particularly the current one that you mentioned, where there is going to be a peace conference in Paris or perhaps in elsewhere, where India will be expected to play a role, and the message of India would be that the benefit of the universe, the benefit of the world, because as you can see, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the entire earth is my family. So any trouble, any problem, any violence, any strife, any difference that arises in a family, we must seek strength from the past and live in today and convince the factions that this is the only path, the peace is the only path, non-violence is the only path, universal harmony is the only path by which the world can be happy and prosperous. So yes, representatives of Indian government and the message from the Prime Minister and other dignitaries and ministers will be that we should try and find a solution, because we not only have the message from the Buddha, from Mahavira, and particularly from Mahavira in terms of ahimsa or non-violence, but also the conflict resolution that happens from the Bhagavad Gita, which is one of the major texts that is studied and revered around the world. So India does have a lot of wisdom with it, with which, in fact, to tell the world that we should be able to come to a conclusion, come to a resolution if there is a problem.
Dr. Tiwari, is it also India's traditional wisdom to not just talk about mediating peace between the two warring sides, but also taking up issues that matter to those in the international community that have also been affected? For instance, India has tried to be the voice of the global south, has said how the Russia-Ukraine crisis, for instance, impacted food prices, energy prices, disrupted global food supply chains and created a lot of socio-economic issues in countries of the global south. So is that also part of India's traditional wisdom to have such a holistic view when a crisis occurs?
Very much. It's not only traditional wisdom, but there is a lot of modern wisdom that is available. We get inspiration from there. And as if you remember, recently concluded G20 summit, it is India which brought and thought of Global South as equal partners. So you remember that African Union has been officially made part of the G20 under the chairmanship of India, and therefore you could see that India is constantly seeking this kind of opportunity wherever there is available to build peace, to build prosperity, to underline and highlight the problems of the world. And before that, as you know, the environment and other issues that India has been raising and trying to find resolution, trying to bring people who are difficult to bring together on a particular issue. So India does play a role, and you and I know, the world knows, that leaders do look up to India, particularly under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, to find a solution not only of this strife that you mentioned, but there are other issues related to human misery, problems and prosperity, economic development, ecological issues, environment. All sorts of issues are being raised, discussed by India, whether they are part of the agenda or not. And that has been the style of the functioning of this Prime Minister over the last decade or so. So there is no doubt that India is concerned about the world. India should be concerned about the world, particularly when it calls the entire world as its own family, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam.
So India's traditional wisdom and modern wisdom continues to inform and influence India's policy in the realm of foreign policy and beyond. We leave it at that. Dr. Tiwari, thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you.
Moving on now, an extremely severe heat wave has gripped parts of Bangladesh with maximum temperatures ranging between 40 degrees Celsius to over 42 degrees Celsius in some places. Bangladesh's highest temperature was recorded at 42.2 degrees Celsius in Chuadanga on Sunday, while the season's highest temperature in the capital Dhaka was recorded at 40.4 degrees Celsius on Saturday. Earlier, 2 people died from heat stroke in Chuadanga and Pabna districts on Saturday amid the extreme heat. Bangladesh's Met Office issued a warning that there will be no respite from this heat wave, which will continue for the next few days, it said. Now look at some other news stories. Parts of India reeled under severe heat wave on Sunday as the regions, especially the eastern states, witnessed hotter than usual dry weather at the onset of the summer season. India expects 10 to 20 heat wave days, which it describes as temperatures hitting at least 40 degrees Celsius in the plains from April through June this year versus the normal 4 to 8 days. A bird hospital in Delhi has heightened its efforts to provide care for birds affected by the escalating heat wave. As temperatures are soaring, the hospital is witnessing a surge in the number of birds afflicted with heat-related illnesses. At present, the facility is accommodating 30 to 40 birds dealing with a range of ailments. A fire broke out in an under-construction building near the Central Secretariat in the national capital. Delhi Fire Service ADO Bhupendra Prakash said that the fire broke out in the construction material kept in an open area of the building. Fire tenders controlled the fire and no news of any casualty was reported so far. More than 400 devotees, including 88 non-resident Indians from 28 different countries, made a pilgrimage to the Ram temple in Ayodhya. They also participated in the Saryu Aarti ceremony. Time for another breather on DD India News Hour. Coming up after that, 2 killed in a shooting at a block party in Tennessee in United States. Indian pair of Priyanka and Akshdeep earn Paris 2024 quota in mixed relay. Olympic selection trials for Indian rifle and pistol shooters underway in New Delhi.
The southern state of Kerala goes to polls on a single day. 20 Lok Sabha seats up for grabs. Will the left be able to regain this bastion? Can BJP make inroads into God's own country? Watch Why Kerala Matters in the Great Indian Election on Monday at 8:30 p.m. IST and 1500 hours GMT only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour with me, Munman Bhattacharya. After weeks of delays, the U.S. House of Representatives has passed crucial bills unlocking $95 billion in aid for Ukraine, Israel and Taiwan. While Russia condemned the move, predicting further turmoil in Ukraine, Ukrainian President Zelensky expressed gratitude.
The U.S. House of Representatives has passed a series of bills that are expected to provide much-needed aid to Ukraine and Israel. The passage of the four bills come after weeks of stalling by Republican lawmakers. It will now proceed to the Democratic Majority Senate.
I just want to say simply what I think most people around the country understand and agree. We should only wave one flag on the House floor.
The $95 billion legislative package aimed at providing security assistance to key allies include Ukraine, Israel and Taiwan.
So the largest proportion of that money, 61 billion, went to Ukraine, about 26 billion to Israel. Taiwan and allies in the Indo-Pacific got 8 billion, and then there was a separate bill that looked at a whole range of different issues, including a potential ban on the app TikTok, sanctions on Iran, China, and also looking to seize Russian assets.
Russia has reacted on security aid. The U.S. House of Representatives approved on Saturday, saying Ukraine would lead to more damage and deaths in the conflict there. The Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said the decision will make the United States of America richer and further ruin Ukraine.
According to the Kremlin spokesman, Ukraine will get poorer, it will be ruined because the operation of Moscow will have to continue and Moscow will have to destroy more weapons supplied by the Western countries to Ukraine, and that means the loss of even more Ukrainian soldiers. At the same time, according to the rhetoric we are getting here from Moscow, the United States will only get richer because those will be the US corporations, the US weapon producers that will be getting more and more money from the US budget as they will be sending those weapons to Ukraine.
Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky expressed gratitude for the United States aid bill for his country.
I hope that the package will get considered in the US Senate and forwarded to President Biden fast enough.
The US aid bill will also see $8.12 billion go to the Asia Pacific, including Taiwan, and Taiwan's defense ministry in a statement said that it will discuss with the United States how to use funding for it.
A bipartisan majority of the U.S. House of Representatives voted on Saturday in favor of a bill that could effectively ban the TikTok app in the United States. The House of Representatives voted 360 to 58 on the bill. The initial version of the bill had faced a roadblock in the Senate before the latest move. Earlier, a standalone bill with a 6-month deadline for selling TikTok had received overwhelming bipartisan support in the House back in March. Both Democrats and Republicans had expressed concerns about national security due to the app's ownership by a Chinese technology company. The revised legislation will now head to the U.S. Senate. Let's now take a look at other stories making news around the world. Voters in Spain's autonomous region of Basque cast their ballots in regional elections on Sunday. Opinion polls show the left-wing Bildu with a narrow lead over the moderate right-wing nationalist PNV. Last year, Spanish Prime Minister Sanchez became the first Spanish premier to negotiate with Bildu, provoking harsh criticism from conservative opponents. Tokyo's 30th annual Rainbow Pride Parade took place on Sunday, with participants calling for more rights as well as marriage equality for LGBTQ+ people in Japan. Campaigners on the issue marched through Tokyo's Shibuya ward, holding banners that called for freedom to marry for everyone. Two customs officials were shot dead by unknown gunmen in western Pakistan on Sunday. The recent attack is followed by the killing of 5 other customs officials in the area in recent days. As investigations are underway, no group has claimed responsibility for the 2 attacks since Thursday. Hundreds of people gathered for a candlelight vigil on Bondi Beach on Sunday evening to pay their respects to the victims of a fatal stabbing attack. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese also attended the vigil alongside relatives of victims and police. At least 2 people were killed and 6 were injured in a shooting at a block party in Tennessee of the United States. Police said the shooting happened at a block party where up to 300 people had gathered. The investigation into the shooting remains ongoing.
This was a block party in the Orange Mound Park that was occurring, as far as we know, without a permit. There were approximately 200 to 300 people in attendance at this event. In light of recent events, we stand together to denounce these senseless acts of violence in our community. We are working tirelessly tonight to identify the individuals who were involved in this shooting.
You're watching DD India News Hour with me, Munmun Bhattacharya. Time now for all the sports action. The Indian pair of Akshdeep Singh and Priyanka Goswami on Sunday earned a 2024 Paris Olympics quota for the mixed marathon race walking relay event. Singh and Goswami clocked 3 hours, 5 minutes, 3 seconds to finish the 42.195 kilometer long race in the 18th position at the World Race Walking Team Championships in Antalya. The top 22 pairs to finish the race qualified for the Olympics. The mixed marathon race walking relay will make its Olympic debut in Paris later this year. The event includes a team of 2 athletes competing in 4 legs alternately. The first leg of 12.195 kilometers is covered by the male athlete, followed by the next 10 kilometers by a woman. The final 20 kilometers is shared equally between the 2 athletes, with the woman taking the final 10 kilometers to finish the race. At the Dr. Karni Singh shooting range in New Delhi, 37 top Indian shooters are competing in the first 2 of 4 Olympic selection trials organized by the National Rifle Association of India. Shooters will earn points from the selection trials, and best 3 scores after 4 trials are completed will be considered. Bonus points are given to shooters with Olympic quotas.
In the New Delhi's Karni Singh shooting range, the Indian rifle and pistol shooters are battling it out for a chance to represent their country at the Paris Olympics. With 37 top shooters in contention, first 2 of the 4 Olympic selection trials are underway. Points are up for grabs during these selection trials, and only the best 3 scores from the 4 trials will count towards the final selection. To add an extra, shooters who have already secured an Olympic quota will earn a bonus point, boosting their chances further. The final average score will be determined by adding up the top 3 scores from the trials along with any bonus point earned.
It's a matter of great appreciation for the manner in which the sport has grown. The athletes have evolved after a very strict, committed training technically as well as from the aspect of mind training. They are matured shooters to reach and compete at the Olympics.
Reflecting on India's recent success in shooting, the Asian Games stood out as a record-breaking event for the Indian contingent. Shooting contributed significantly to India's medal tally with 22 out of 107 medals. This outstanding performance has raised hope for a similar success at the Paris Summer Games. Narayan Singh's report for DD India, New Delhi.
And in a thrilling Indian Premier League match, Kolkata Knight Riders defeated Royal Challengers Bengaluru by 1 run in the eastern city of Kolkata on Sunday. Andre Russell and Sunil Narine turned the game in the host's way by claiming the crucial wickets in the middle overs. Royal Challengers Bengaluru batters put up a solid fight till the last ball, but it wasn't enough for them to claim their second win of the season. Rajat Patidhar and Will Jacks slammed half-centuries and kept the hopes alive for RCB in a gigantic 223-run chase. The KKR would be relieved that they got over the line, but their bowling was not up to the mark. Earlier, skipper Shreyas Iyer hit a half-century, while Phil Salt and Ramandeep Singh produced quick-fire knocks as Kolkata Knight Riders posted 222 runs for the loss of 6 wickets in 20 overs. With 5 consecutive defeats, the bottom-ranked RCB face the daunting task of winning their remaining 7 games to keep the playoff prospects alive. That's it in this edition of DD India News Hour, but do share your thoughts with us on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, so scan the QR code on the screen to download now.